SADAT Defense Helicopter Utilization Training Programs. Sample Training Programs for Air Forces. Parachute Training Program, Helicopter Utilization Training Program, Pilot Search and Rescue Operations Training Program, Boarding Operations with Helicopter Training Program, Evacuation Operations, Aircraft Pilot Training, Type Rating Training, Jet Fighter Pilot Training, Aircraft Maintenance Training, Helicopter Pilot Training, Helicopter Maintenance Training, Electronic Warfare, UAV Pilot Training, Anti-Craft and Air Defense Missile Training. Visit our website to view our sample training programs. Our training programs for the Air Forces are not limited to these samples, and training programs can be formed on demanded subjects. Helicopter Utilization Training Program. Purpose of training: by learning the technical features of the helicopter and the use of the weapons and technical equipment on it, both the crew and the transported personnel at the highest level, theoretically and practically. Transportation, reconnaissance, surveillance and close air support missions to provide maximum benefit from the helicopter on the battlefield. Military helicopters are manufactured for various purposes, such as attack helicopters, reconnaissance and surveillance helicopters, general purpose helicopters, ambulance helicopters. Training subjects: landing and boarding while fully equipped, armed procedures to helicopter, bailing out techniques from a helicopter, loading and unloading procedures of supplies to helicopter, procedures of loading by hangar, transporting and unloading heavy weapons by helicopter, procedures of loading, unloading or dropping goods and materials by helicopter, transporting procedures of patient and wounded by helicopter, reconnaissance and surveillance techniques by helicopter. Types of helicopter operations: air mobile operations, in case where the transfer of special forces teams, underwater offense teams, infantry commandos, and gendarmerie commandos, infantry, marine infantry, and gendarmerie units over the ground, is not deemed appropriate or it is deemed necessary to move quickly. It is the operation of transporting by aircrafts from one place to another, by landing and transporting a large number of helicopters. Landing and boarding tasks from to helicopter to ground with fast rope. It is the process of landing on steep and rocky summits, behind enemy lines, behind a natural cover, on the roof of a building, on the deck of a ship, etc. Airborne operation. It is the transfer of a special force, SAT, underwater offense, SAS, underwater defense, or commando teams equipped with parachutes to the operation area by helicopter from the air. It is the process of transporting the troops by helicopter to the operational area but parachuting into the ground in teams. Close air support operation. It is the task of supporting the operation of the ground troops by fire. Reconnaissance and surveillance operations. It contributes to meet the needs of long-range reconnaissance and surveillance in order to supplement the limited intelligence information of the ground troops regarding the enemy's position and movement in the depths of the front. Supply and transport, medical evacuation tasks. The needs of the front line or reserves units in contact with the enemy can be fulfilled for the purpose of supplying emergency food, ammunition, CBRN, etc., for the transportation of light or heavy weapons, and even for the transportation of the seriously wounded ones. Initial requirements: helicopter pilots. They must have successfully completed basic military service and individual combat training and combat shooting with their own weapons. They must have successfully completed helicopter pilot, basic and advanced flight courses and night flights. Personnel to be transported. Teams units to be transported by helicopter must have successfully completed the basic military service, individual combat training required by their class and branch, and combat shooting with their own weapons. Combat teams units to be transferred must have successfully completed the troop training and exercises required by their class and branch, the crew training of the weapons to be used by the crew, and the combat shooting. The supply and logistics unit personnel must have reached professional standards in order to successfully perform the tasks required for their duties as a staff member in all weather and difficult conditions. Abilities to be gained after the training. Being trained in the use of helicopter-mounted heavy weapons, firing at airborne targets and ground troops. Having successfully completed the training of land and take-off techniques of a faulty and steep terrain, or a ship in emergency or dangerous conditions. Having successfully completed aerial reconnaissance and surveillance techniques and reporting procedures training. Having successfully completed the training of helicopter intercommunication system, radio communications with superior, subordinate and neighboring units. Having successfully completed the training on loading and unloading procedures for personnel and cargo transportation by helicopter. Having successfully completed the training of patient and wounded transport and evacuation procedures by helicopter. Gaining experience by successfully completed joint operations training and shooting drills for the combat teams units to be transferred. Supply and logistics unit personnel. Being trained and experienced in the methods of loading and unloading the weapons and vehicles to be transported on the helicopter. Medical evacuation teams. Gaining knowledge, ability and experience in evacuating the seriously injured units on the battlefield to the mobile surgical hospitals behind the front or to the fully equipped hospitals in the domestic region. Duration of course. The theoretical training is 1 week. The practical training is 2 weeks, for a total of 3 weeks. Who can participate in our courses? All our training and consultancy services are for the armed forces and police forces of friendly and allied countries. Individual participation in our trainings is not possible.